0 to 100K plus months. This is my journey and I share it with you. John Hutchison here, and this is DTF Secrets. I want to share with you my journey into DTF because it kind of fell in a way that was by accident. So I want to tell you that story. When COVID hit, essentially my other business failed. So I had to pivot quickly. Luckily, I'd been looking at t-shirts and t-shirt selling for like 5 years. I'd helped a few businesses over that time do extremely well. And I procrastinated really for 5 years until I was forced to make the decision to do something different. After doing extensive research, I kind of discovered the world of DTF, right? And I believe it's changing the garment industry for the better. It's a new printing technology that is essentially taken the world by storm. If you've been following it, you'll know what I mean. But that's essentially why I wanted to adopt that particular technology. Problem was, I had no money. Printers aren't cheap, and I wanted to buy a commercial printer. So I did what most people do, and I basically asked my parents for a loan. And thankfully they said yes, which was great. So I bought a wide format printer. It cost me approximately $9,000 to buy the printer and to get it shipped. I wanted to actually go into this in the right way. After my printer arrived, I got it out of the box, so excited. And I played around with this printer for about 6 weeks until, I was happy with the production of the transfers, because there's a bit of a learning curve. I got to a position of where I'd wash tested 25 times. I then proceeded to kit out my entire family and friends with free t-shirts. But the good news about that was friends spoke to friends and spoke to family people who spoke to people who own businesses, and I started to get a few sales, which was great for me because I'd invested $9,000, and by this point I was starting to make a little bit of money. But it didn't come without a lot of drama. It didn't come without issues, problems, challenges that needed to be overcome. So some of them I want to share with you because you'll probably experience this too at some point. Calibration and white alignment, the white being totally out. You can see it, when it goes on the garment. Things like printers stopping halfway through a job, to issues with certain colors. I had major problems with royal blue and grays. Grays were a nightmare. And things like nozzles clogging up, for no apparent reason. All problems would be experienced, but they all were overcome. Other problems, artwork resolution. Say like, this is a major issue. You probably had this too. The pain that you can get from people trying to give you artwork, pixelated artwork on the wrong size, shadows and fade outs not working with the DTF process, thin details not coming out correctly, to things like the images not being cropped, and you've got to start doing free editing work. You're going to get all of these at some point, in your journey, just like I have, but you can overcome them, okay? Once I got over that kind of learning curve, because I knew nothing about DTF, right? I came from no skills, no experience in DTF, so I was kind of learning as I was going. Once I got that overcome, it was a case of like, well, how do I get the word out? How do I actually get the interest of people who are looking to buy garments? Trent told me about Facebook Marketplace, so that's where I went. After a little bit of time posting, it wasn't long before I got leads, which is great because they're free, right? So here's some of the things I did. I constructed free offers. Each one was slightly different. I then posted over the course of a week, and after a few days, I started to get inquiries about the particular product and designs I was trying to sell. It surprised me how quickly it started to work. But the thing is, you've got to start communicating with these leads back and forth via Messenger before you start getting sales. So you have to really communicate with these people. They make an inquiry, you respond and answer their questions, and in the end, a few of these people are going to do business with you. I continued to post in the marketplace, and by the end of the first month of promoting my business on Facebook Marketplace, I made $15,896. I was gobsmacked, and I've continued to post on the Facebook Marketplace to this day and have systemized the process. So there's really 3 areas to get this working in the Facebook Marketplace. So let me share them with you. You have to have a great offer. You have to post consistently, and you have to do the follow-up with your leads. And if you follow up with those leads, you will make sales. I guarantee it. The secret is actually in the follow-up, all right? But there are some pros and cons. So here's the cons, okay? It takes time. You have to create an offer and you have to post your content, yeah? You have to test different offers until you find one that works. You have to schedule and post consistently, right? So it does take time. You have to then renew those listings because they expire every couple of weeks. And you have to follow up and nurture the leads that you get, because if you don't do anything with them, you will not make sales, right? Here's the pros. It works, it's free, it gets your business out there and known, and it will get you leads consistently as long as you put the work in, okay? So, look, I've done some free training in and around the Facebook Marketplace and how you can do it too. I suggest you get on my list and you can get access to that information. You can join my Facebook group or visit dtfsecrets.com. Okay, so around this video somewhere, there'll be a couple of links, but you can get on my list and then you can get access to that free training, okay? Now, since starting with the Facebook Marketplace, which I still do every single day, or one of my team members does it now, I've generated over $285,000. It works, and I suggest you start doing it too. I mean, you can sell just about anything on the marketplace, and I started with doing t-shirts and other garments and other promotional items, and now I use it to sell transfers, okay? And it's still really, I really am surprised that I can sell transfers on the marketplace. And if that's your thing too, then you can do it, all right? So now I sell 95% of my business is transfers and 95% is garments. I've transitioned from garments to transfers because that was, to me, a better fit, okay? But it works regardless. So I've made a lot from it, but I've also reinvested that money, okay? Because I wanted to get faster. I wanted to get better equipment that would allow me to keep growing my business, right? So I started off with a 60cm wide format printer. And this is the first one I bought, the Chinese printer. And it broke down after 7 weeks. And then I had to wait for nearly 2 months to get replacement parts. But I couldn't wait that long. So unfortunately for me, I was in a position where I had to buy a converted printer. What I want to do is tell you a little bit about that process. So converted printers have a place, but they do not have a place, in my opinion, with someone who wants to build a reliable and sustainable business of selling garments or selling transfers each and every day, okay? At some point, you're going to get problems with a converted printer. And you can look at any of the DTF groups online and you'll see the world of pain people are going through where they're trying to work out, can they convert a particular printer? What are the steps to convert the printer? And then all the associated problems they're having with a converted printer. Now, I'm not saying you don't get problems with a dedicated commercial printer, but you have less problems. One of the biggest things is any printer is going to need maintenance. Any printer is going to need upgrading or parts changing. It doesn't matter if it's a commercial printer, converted printer, you're going to get it, okay? The big difference is that a converted printer, generally there's no support. It wasn't designed to do and play nice with DTF and DTF inks, etc. But at least the dedicated commercial machine has been built for the purpose. So you will have less problems. You definitely will be able to get more support, especially if you choose a company to buy from that has a really good support program, okay? The biggest problem out there is there is so much misinformation and advice given for people who really do not have a clue, who really don't have the knowledge. They don't run a business, or they're a hobbyist, and the information they give is so wrong that it steers people in the wrong direction. If you're planning on making, starting and growing a viable business, I'm sure you do, you have to invest in equipment that you can trust, and where you have the right level of support. You can't start a business with converted printers and no support and it goes down, and then you end up in the world of pain and letting all the customers down. Generally is going to happen, all right? So I got my first wide format printer back up and running after 8 weeks, and I then kicked the converted printer into touch to the ongoing onslaught of pain it used to give me, where it would break down pretty much every day. After 8 months, I essentially bought 2 new printers, 2 4-head printers, and I bought 2 because I wanted to have a backup. I bought 2 because I knew my business was growing day by day, and then if one broke down, I had a spare, etc. If I had enough printing for 2, then I get the second one up and running. Went from doing 5 square meters an hour to 12 square meters an hour, and I had 2 machines, so I could do 24 square meters an hour. And I purchased them after only 8 months. And I'm glad I did, because it gave me peace of mind. Also, it allowed me to free up some of my time, because I was printing 8 hours a day at that point, all right? So I could print faster, and I had a backup if I needed to. Now, up to this point, I was still only using the Facebook marketplace to pretty much advertise my business. Now I wanted to go to new levels for more growth. I had, overcome so many challenges, and I had achieved my goals, and I set new goals, okay? So this is when I decided that, I needed to have an online store. I was essentially getting leads, talking to the leads, generating an invoice. They would then pay the invoice, and then I'd start the job. Whereas I wanted an automated way that I could get sales, okay? So I officially started my store on the 20th of September, okay? And I've been running it now for 6 months, which has flown by, okay? I remember getting my very first sale, $37. I was so stoked, and I couldn't believe, the way I felt, the joy I felt, how I put something online and then it was able to make a sale without me actually having to talk to anybody, all right? And the good thing about an online store is it's there 24/7, works while you're asleep, right? And it's crazy to think that people, and I'm looking at the stats of my store, people are buying at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. It makes you wonder what these people are doing at that time, but it's good that they're doing that. And that's why it's good to have an online store, okay? Because it allows you to use its leverage, okay? Because it's available 24/7. And in that very first month, or the first month, roughly 10 days of September, I made $1,500. I was absolutely stoked, I can tell you. As I said, I was invoicing all the time, and like invoicing, I don't like doing admin, to be personally honest with you, but the store was an easier option for me. And after running the store for 1 whole month, I made just over $6,000. So then I had to start getting other things in place. So the question is, do you need to do paid advertising? If, like me, you get to that point after a whole year of doing organic traffic and it was good, I felt I was ready. I felt that, I had a little bit of cash in the bank and that I could then start doing paid advertising, all right? So I decided to advertise on Facebook again with their paid advertising that they provide, and it started to work, okay? I'd taken some of the offers that were working and I tested on the Facebook Marketplace and transitioned them to paid advertising, and they pretty much worked out the gate. So in October, I did 229 orders. I made $9,300. So I've gone from $1,500, $6,000, $9,300.
And it was growing slowly, okay?
The sales started to come in, but then I noticed when I was looking at some of the metrics, there was a problem. My average order value was low, okay? I'd seen all the sales coming in and the number of the orders, and like I can see the revenue, but then I started to look at all these other metrics, right? And the average order value was low. Average order value is someone comes and pays you, you see the transaction, but the average order value is only a certain amount. In this case, it was $37. So after a bit of digging around, and doing a little bit of online research to these metrics, I discovered why my AOV was being affected. And it turns out it was my samples. I was making samples available, but I was only charging $1. 129 people that month took me up on getting samples, right? Which is crazy. But some people want to test you, want to test your product first, which is understandable, right? Who doesn't? And I decided to do $1 because I could send out the samples in a regular letter in the mail that cost me $1. So they were really just covering the cost. But here's a pro tip. Making samples available works. I can tell you now, the amount of people take you up on the offer, after they've, tried your samples, is going to get you business. So you want to implement that into your business. The key takeaway is a lot of people will take it, okay? Your samples have to be good, obviously, but there's one thing you need to make sure of. In your sample letter that you send, your samples that you send, you put a letter, a special letter, and that letter is basically offering them a special offer, an incentive. Why would they come back and buy from you? So they're testing your samples. If the samples are good, give them some other form of incentive that gets them come back and gets them to come back quickly. So you need to put something like that together. And then I continued to create different types of ad creative, different types of offers, and I tested my way to finding winners. Also, I then eliminated the losers, okay? So with your advertising, you have to come up with a systemized way, a framework of the way in which you do things, because you need to understand what the metrics are telling you, what the data is telling you, so that you can eliminate the stuff that's wasting your money and not working. But then you're going to uncover and find the winners. And then with the winners, you then look to spend a little bit more money, right? So you increase your daily budget. But the more you do that, the more it will work, more sales you will make, and the more customers you will get for your business. So many people are just throwing mud against the wall and hoping it sticks, and clearly that is not an option that is viable. So don't do it. Work out a framework of spending a little bit of money on testing new ad creatives and content. Look at the metrics to find what works. Eliminate the losers quickly, okay? If you take that approach, then you are essentially going to find what works. And then once you know what works, then increase in scale on that. So essentially, you'll get winning ads. You'll find out what offers work, what ad creative works, and then you can then scale that, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be able to afford, big budgets daily. I started out with minimal stuff. I started out with $5 a day budgets. It doesn't have to break the bank. You have to use some sort of systemized framework so that you're not just hoping, throwing the mud against the wall, because it doesn't work, okay? You essentially need to find that great offer, and you need to find that great advertising creative to go with it. A really good creative, really good content, it has to resonate with your ideal audience, because that's what they're attracted to. That's what resonates. That's why they end up liking, sharing, commenting, and the biggest one, the click. So in terms of clicks, if you're targeting the right people, with that, you're gonna get clicks, all right? So in a nutshell, do that, and I guarantee it will work for you. And from the results and reviewing my own data, I did exactly that. I eliminated the losers, I found the winners, and I continued to increase my advertising budget, because I essentially was getting the right metrics. I was getting my ad spend and my cost of sale in a position where I could take that money and reinvest and spend more. And that's how it works. So for me, my results snowballed dramatically. So I made 9,300 in sales in October, and in November I made 47,200. So again, I was like, wow, this stuff really works. And it wasn't difficult. It was just a process to go through, and you can do it too, right? But up until that point, my best ever month was 18,600. I just made 47,200, okay? So moving to an online store that is open 24/7 and spending a little bit on advertising works if you follow the systemized framework that I've basically, shared with you. But again, I didn't start with a massive budget. I started with a small budget with a few bucks a day, and I built that up over time. I was just consistent in my whole process. But wow, I wish I'd done it sooner, right? But unfortunately, I wasn't in a position to do that. I essentially bootstrapped my way by taking out a loan from my parents, which I pretty much paid back within about 4 months of starting. Again, if you're just starting out and you don't have the available cash, go and check out my free training on the Facebook Marketplace and how you can use that, okay? Because it still consistently makes me 10 to 15,000 per month. So in November was a bit of a different experience. Many of you be familiar with, maybe rising costs, advertising costs. November, is a particular time of the year, where you got Cyber Weekend, you got Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and there is a lot more competition, a lot bigger companies with bigger ad budgets who love to basically spend it at that time of the year. One thing to remember when it comes to all these different advertising platforms, they are auctions, okay? You basically bid on them, right, to win the eyeballs. And if someone comes along who has deeper pockets than you and is prepared to spend more to, advertise and acquire the customer, then you're going to lose out because you can't do that, all right? It's a battle of the clicks. He who can pay most for the click is going to get the click and the eyeballs. That's essentially how it works, all right? But there is one thing that can help you in relation to your ad cost. There's one thing that can help increase your average order value, and which in my case is something I introduced in November that made a big difference, right? Because my advertising cost was going up, my CPA, cost to acquire a customer, was going up, and I was only making so much revenue per average sale. The AOV is what I can control, right? So I did something about that. So let me tell you what I did. So in November, I introduced an upsell offer. An upsell offer is essentially a second offer that you put in front of the customer at the time they've just made their first purchase, while they still get their wallet out, right? While they got their credit card in hand, you can make that a second offer. A lot of people will take you up on that offer, a small percentage. But the good news is it increases your AOV, your average order value, which then offsets the increased cost of advertising, and that's how you can combat that. When advertising costs come down again, then you make more money. Some very important metrics that you need to understand. CPA is cost per acquisition. It's essentially the cost to acquire the customer through using paid advertising. You got your conversion rate. This is the percentage of people, the visitors that come to your store and that convert, okay? The global average is 3%. So if your store is doing less than that, if your offer is doing less than that, then there's a problem. There's ROAS. This is your return on ad spend. So you have your cost to acquire the customer and you have your revenue, and you divide one for the other, okay? And it gives you your ROAS. If your ROAS isn't at 2x, then there's a problem, okay? Because if you're under that, chances are you're going to be losing money, and you don't need to be there. And this is where increasing your average order value is going to help, right? Because you're going to make more money. The best time to make this offer is immediately after the first sale, right? And when they got their credit card out. If you make the right offer, it will convert, okay? So again, it comes back to you testing offers. And a great place to test those offers is on the Facebook Marketplace, because it costs you a penny. Next one is cost of goods sold. This is you understanding all the raw materials in your business. So clearly, if you're doing DTF, it's obviously going to be your ink, your film, and your powder. If you're doing t-shirts, it's going to be that and the cost of the garment, right? And then the garment shipping to you, etc., etc. You need to understand those costs, because if you don't, how do you know your margin? How do you know how much you're going to sell it for? How much profit you're going to make? Another one is LTV, lifetime value. What is the customer really worth to you? What is the retention rate? How long do they stay with your business? What's the frequency of their purchase? Are they purchasing on month 1, month 2, month 3? How long do they stay on average? If you know that, and you know the true value of the customer, then you'll know how much you can afford once you understand these metrics. The secret to long-term success in this business is repeat sales from the customers. The profit is in the repeat sales through retaining the customer. Time. How much time are you really investing in all this? You need to work out your value of your time, because at some point you're going to be leveraging other people's time, because you're going to grow to needing other people, other staff, okay? And you then need to work out what tasks you pass on to them. And the number one thing you should never let go and do yourself is sales. Until you get to a point of you're making enough and then you're in a position of wanting to build a sales team, you have to be doing all the marketing and you have to be doing the sales. There's only one person who's going to do it as good, and that is clearly you. So as I said, implementing some of these strategies for AOV is extremely important, but the question comes down to what offer is more appealing to the customer. So you know your business best, but I'm going to share a pro tip with you. What are the best type of offers that work? There's two types of offers that work really well. The first one is making someone's life easier. So think about how you can make your customer's life easier and come up with something that does that. Second one is giving them some sort of financial incentive. So if you can do both of those, I guarantee that it is going to work and you'll be surprised at the results you get. So coming up with offers is not difficult. You just need to brainstorm them out, think of those two things, those pro tips, and you'll find yourself in a position where you can increase your AOV, which will increase your revenue, which will mean you can combat or afford the ad costs. Creating better ads, better content in and around what your offer is. Essentially on social media, content is king. If that content resonates with your target market, then you are going to be positioned to get that channel working. Creating better offers works. Second thing, test, and test again. As I said earlier, you have to come up with a systemized way, your own framework that will allow you to essentially spot the losers quickly and then identify the winners. And the winners is what you keep running, and the winners is what you increase your advertising budget on. From my experience, I can tell you this is all a process, and it's going to change over time. It's an ongoing process, and a goalpost will always move, and you have to refine, test, and continue on that. It doesn't take long to do, but you have to do it in your business. The entire advertising world out there and all these different channels are really auctions. You're going to get competition come in day by day. They'll go, they'll come back, you know, they might not be there, but every day, and just to give you some point of information I learned, there are over 7 million advertisers on Facebook. Right? 7 million every single day, hundreds of thousands of different auctions, all going after the same target market as you. As I said already, Black Friday, Christmas is very seasonal. The advertising cost is going to go up, but there are also going to be seasonal sort of dates, time of the year for your particular niche. So what type of results can really be achieved? Well, I've already shared some with you. So as of today, I am 6 months from starting my store, and in month 5, I basically broke the 100K month. Gone on and grown again by another 24%. So this month is really good. We are now doing over 1,000 orders a month, which is crazy. The big question a lot of people might ask is, well, how profitable is it? Let me share some really important stats. Right, CPA, cost to acquire a customer on average, $17. My monthly average AOV is 130. That means it's costing me $17 to get a $130 sale. And my 6-month LTV, because now I have 6 months of data to look at, my LTV on average per customer is $617 from every single customer on average. Crazy. Let's talk about some of the things that have really helped me along the way and some things that you should look to adopt. First thing, mindset, extremely important. You need to believe in yourself. You are really no different to me. I started with absolutely zero skills and experience selling DTF, selling garments, selling transfers, running a DTF business. And I'm just a guy, 4 kids, a wife who has done many different things in his life, never run a DTF business. So if I can do it, you can too, all right? And I've essentially gone through trial and error. I've screwed up, I've made mistakes, I've overcome these challenges. I've hit problem, 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 problem. And maybe I'm stubborn, or maybe I'm just, do you know what? I can do this. Do you know what? I believe in myself. I've learned the skill through trial and error. I'm always learning, I'm always educating myself. I've connected myself with people, like-minded people like me, who are on this journey. So if you're on this journey too, connect with me. You know, I love to share stories and insights of things that have worked for me, just like I'm doing now on this video. So the biggest thing you can do is focus. I woke up one morning and I thought, do you know what? I want to achieve this thing. This is my goal. But I didn't want to go and do, I'm going to achieve this, achieve this, achieve this, achieve this. I picked one thing and I focused on it. And I didn't stop focusing on it until I've achieved the goal. Now my goal in the beginning was 5 grand. And I achieved that in my first month. So if you focus your attention and really believe in yourself, you can reach those goals too. Right? So I set a goal and I set a time frame. I gave myself 1 month to do it and I did it. And I do that in my business now all the time. I have more than one goal. So I now have systems in place and I have a team. But in the beginning, focus on one thing and do one thing until you reach it. So my goal was 5K. As you know, I'm now doing over 100K months. My new goal, hit 1,000 orders a month now consistently for the last 2 months, and now I want to reach to 3,000. That's what I'm focusing on. You have to be focused. You have to be consistent. You're going to have to do things that are repetitive. It's a process of doing them again and again and again and again. It's like when you go to the gym, you have to do these exercises like you're doing arm curls, right? You do 12 reps. You do 3 sets. And each time you move back, you get stronger, you get fitter. But it's because of the repetition. So my goals for the future, like I said, I've just ordered my 4th wide format machine and I'm already thinking of buying another. I have goals of 3,000 orders per month. I've got goals of putting more systems in my business. I've got goals of growing my team. And I've got a goal now that if I'm going to achieve 3,000 orders a month, I'm going to start to use other paid channels. Right now, for me to get to 1,000 orders a month is essentially only the 3 channels. Those 3 channels are Facebook Marketplace. Still do it right from the beginning. Paid ads. I've been running paid ads now on Facebook advertising for 5 months. And it only started with Google advertising in the last month. So I have 2 channels that I want to go into. And again, I'm not just going to go blah and try and do them. I'm going to pick on one until I find out what's working. And when I've mastered it, then I'm going to start the second one. By the time I've finished, I have 5 working channels, okay, to help me reach my new goals. PS, big PS. Listen, if you need help implementing some of this stuff, you know, I'm thinking of putting together some sort of paid program. So if that's of interest to you, then join my list, get in touch, and we can talk through the details. But if you need help, I'll help you. If you enjoyed this content and would love to see more, smash the subscribe button.